Avengers Infinity War brought together almost the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe for a gigantic battle featuring a number of interactions and team-ups between our favorite heroes. But who stood out in this movie? Who were the 5 best characters, in my opinion, of Avengers Infinity War? Well, before I go any further, this is going to contain spoilers for the film. So if you still have not seen Infinity War, you need to go see it like now. You'll probably end up seeing it multiple times, but you need to go see it now. By the time this video goes up, it's going to be already a few days since the movie came out, so it should not be hard to find a ticket. I don't think there's sellouts all week just for the first night or two. But regardless of where you live, you should go see the movie as soon as possible, then come back and check out the video because I want you to comment on who your 5 favorite characters were of Avengers Infinity War. Now understand, this list that I made here is not like the 5 best characters in the MCU. That's not what this is about. This is who I think shined in this movie, who I think was just fun to watch in this film. So, few honorable mentions here, like the Hulk, for example, and Loki and Gamora. I'm going to put those as honorable mentions because they weren't really on screen that much, but to me, they were very interesting points to the film, but they weren't enough to make my top 5 favorite characters. So, number 5, we're going to count down from top 5. My number 5 is the Scarlet Witch. Now, again, she wasn't really in the movie that much, and to be honest, Vision is not very powerful, I guess, in this movie. He's powerful, but he seems to be very much depowered. But Scarlet Witch actually did some things in this movie that she had never done before, including being able to shatter an Infinity Stone, which you would never think would even be possible with her power, but she is very powerful. And we saw her flip over those big wheeled tanks. I really liked Scarlet Witch's role in the movie, even though there wasn't much to it, and I like that they developed the love between her and Vision. So, she's my number 5. Do I want more screen time from her? Maybe in the next movie, but she, of course, at the end of the movie disappeared, so we won't be seeing her for a while. Number 4 on the list is a new character to the MCU, the Ebony Maw. Yeah, I know, he got killed off at the beginning of the first act, but man, he was the real main eventer of the first act. The way that he talked, the way that he pretty much was the enemy that they fought in New York, in that brief, scene at the beginning of the movie with Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Spider-Man, he was awesome in everything that he did. I loved the way he spoke, how he would say, let him have his fun. And I loved how he was torturing Doctor Strange on Thanos' ship. Ebony Maw was great. It really sucks that he died early in the movie because he's definitely my favorite of the Black Order in this movie. I thought he was the coolest one. Number 3 is Thor. Not just in the interactions that Thor had with all the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was very, very funny. He was pretty much the glue that held this film together, with the exception of Thanos. He's there from the beginning, watching his own brother die in front of him, and then going off on this quest. Obviously, he meets the Guardians first. Then he goes off on this quest to get Stormbreaker, and he survives like the explosion of a star or whatever the hell happened there. That was freaking cool. And I think Thor was awesome. And the one scene in this movie that really made me mark out like crazy is when Thor got to Wakanda using the Bifrost and he starts swinging around that damn Stormbreaker. That was the most amazing thing ever. People cheered in the movie theater. He's sitting there cutting people up. He's like, Thanos! I seriously was this close to putting him at number 2 because he was so enjoyable to see on screen every time that he was on the screen. And he was Thor Ragnarok Thor, not the previous Thor. He was actually, they did the fish out of water stuff. He was actually funnier in some ways, but not too funny. It wasn't all gaga. I was kind of hoping for that, that song from Ragnarok. I was hoping they'd play that in the movie when he came in with the Stormbreaker, but it was still cool. He was awesome, and he almost killed Thanos, bro. He almost did it, but next time go for the head. Thor was a blast to watch in Avengers Infinity War. Number 2, and my number 2 and number 3 are very close because I almost put Thor at number 2. Number 2 is Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. That whole fight sequence with Doctor Strange and Thanos where he's using clones of himself with multiple whips and the glass, that was a trip. That was like a Dragon Ball level like battle on the big screen. The fact that he went to the future and he pretty much came up with that plan, you know, where with the time stone to give it to Thanos so that Tony be okay. You know, he was so awesome in this movie, and again, he was there pretty much from the beginning. When Hulk lands, you know, in the Sanctorum, he sees Hulk and he goes out to find Tony, and, you know, Pepper's there and whatnot. I thought he was awesome. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch had so much charisma in this movie, and he was cool in Doctor Strange, and he was also cool for the first act of Thor Ragnarok. But really in this movie, like his powers, he was so confident in himself at this point. It wasn't like how it was in Doctor Strange. In this movie, he knew what he was doing. He was really powerful. I mean, you could argue in this movie, him and Scarlet Witch and Thor were right under Thanos. I mean, maybe not as far as like there's a bigger gap between them, but as far as like the good characters go, the good guys, those are the three strongest characters in this movie, without question, because Doctor Strange was doing some stuff. I mean, shoot, he was going toe-to-toe with Thanos for a while there. So Doctor Strange, to me, was freaking awesome, and it sucks that he's not going to really be the centerpiece of Avengers 4 because he did disappear at the end of the movie. It'll be good to see him back, and I can't wait for Doctor Strange 2, so we follow up on that whole Mordo storyline where he turned bad. Number one should be an obvious one, Thanos. He is the glue that makes this movie. Josh Brolin's performance was incredible. He was a CGI character, but it was motion capture, and it looked so good that you really couldn't tell he was CGI in some parts. You really couldn't. It was kind of like Supreme Leader Snoke. You know, for all the crap that I gave Last Jedi, because, you know, I hated that. Well, I hated parts of that movie. Snoke looked great. Andy Serkis is incredible, and the way that, you know, Brolin portrayed Thanos, his whole character arc, his relationship with Gamora, all that stuff was just so cool. Like, it was so... He was just... He was the glue that put this movie together. And the fact that at the end of the movie he won, he snapped his fingers, he won. Then he goes into what appears to be like the soul dimension, the soul stone, and Kid Gamora's like, was it worth it? And then he sits down and the story's over and people in the movie theater were gasping. I mean, obviously I knew what was going to happen because I read the comics, but people in the movie theater who had never read Infinity Gauntlet or didn't hear about it or anything were just in shock. Like, wow, the bad guy won. Like, yeah, bro, this is the way it should be. This is the Empire Strikes Back cliffhanger ending where the bad guys win. Except that in that ending, things seem very hopeful. Whereas in Avengers Infinity War, at the end of this movie, you're left wondering, how in the hell are they going to beat this guy? How? He has the gauntlet. Are they going to wait for him to fall asleep? Like, how can he be beaten when he controls reality itself? And that's going to be the big curiosity going into Avengers 4. And overall, you know, when it comes to him in this movie, he really was a great villain. They pretty much broke that whole, like, you know, MCU has bad villains thing with Zemo first, then with Killmonger, and now with Thanos. We have three really great villains. And really, I thought Loki was pretty good too. And in some ways, Ultron was not that bad when you go back and kind of watch the movie. They didn't do him as well as the comics, but he was pretty good when you go back and see it. But Thanos, to me, was this movie. And at the end credits, it says Thanos will be back. It didn't say the Avengers will be back. It said Thanos. It was almost like they were trying to get you to, like, cheer for him, even though it's pretty hard to cheer for him because he did so many bad things and, you know, killed his own daughter and whatnot. But without question, Thanos was my favorite character of Avengers Infinity War, and I really hope this is going to sound weird, but I kind of hope they don't kill him off in the next one. I kind of hope that at some point, I'm not saying they turn him good, but at some point he does something good to help them against a greater foe. I think there's money in this Thanos character, in merchandise, in, you know, future movies. I hope they don't just get rid of him and have him get killed in the next one, but we'll see, because the next one's already been shot. So if anybody knows, it's the people in the MCU. What do you think? Leave a comment. Who are your top 5 favorite characters in Avengers Infinity War? Yes, I love Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong. I loved Iron Man. Everybody was great. Peter Quill was cool too, except he kind of pissed me off when he lost his temper. But he was supposed to piss you off because that was his mistake. But overall, you know, even Mantis and Nebula, I thought were pretty awesome in the movie. Drax is the only one that I thought was a big disappointment. I feel like they really did nothing with him or anything close to what they would have done with him if they saw him as being a more important character. Let me know your top 5. Thank you so much. Hope you have a good one. I look forward to seeing your picks down below. And remember, it's top 5 of this movie, not the entire MCU. Catch you down the road.